A few years ago, I spent some time at a beautiful summer camp. We got to do this activity that was meant to teach us about trust. We all held onto each other at the beginning of this rocky path along the water. All of us put on blindfolds except one person who led the way. We moved slowly as we winded back and forth and up and down along the path. It was a little scary at times, but the more we trusted the person leading us, the easier it was. At the end of the path, we were all pretty impressed at how far we'd come simply by trusting the leader. Life can often feel like you're walking blindly. The good news is that God has a plan for our lives, and He leads us every step of the way.
Being a Christian involves following Jesus. Every day we make millions of decisions, and those decisions shape what happens in our lives.
We get to grab onto Jesus and trust Him because He can see what we can't, and He's guiding us to full life.
In the letter to the Romans, chapter 12, verse 2, it says this: "Don't copy the behavior of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you."
One Bible translator, J.B. Phillips, puts it this way: "Don't let the world around you squeeze you into its mold."
I had this really good friend named Josh, and he and I used to drive to and from university together. One day on our way to school, he started asking me questions about faith. He knew I was a Christian and wanted to know if that meant that I wasn't allowed to have any fun. He asked me questions like, are you allowed to drink? Or are you allowed to make out with girls? Are you allowed to do this or that? And I tried to explain to him that it wasn't really about me being allowed or not allowed to do one thing or another, as if I was afraid God was going to strike me with lightning. But that God really loved me, and God has a plan for my life, and He wants what's best for me. You know, following Jesus is not God's cosmic plan to steal your fun. He wants to give you life, and life to the fullest.
Yeah, God has a good plan for your life, and He doesn't want to keep it a secret from you. In this session, we want to talk about ways He guides us into a better way of living.
Following Jesus really leads us into a whole new way of living. The way we talk, the way we treat others, and the way we see money and possessions. I used to live with a bunch of guys. It was awesome. One of my roommates was a high school teacher named Chris. He became a Christian in his 20s, and he told me a bit about his story.
I used to live my life for myself. It was all about how much stuff I could get, how much fun I could have, and how good I could feel. I used my credit card to go on vacations, buy clothes, and eat and drink whatever I felt like. It was actually a few years after I became a Christian that my perspective started to change. I was really impacted by the words of Jesus, "It's better to give than to receive." After following Jesus for 2 years, I signed up to sponsor a young boy in Africa. For less than $50 a month, I was able to transform the life of a boy halfway around the world. I learned that it was way better to live for eternity and to store treasures in heaven rather than on earth. My perspective flipped from how much could I get for myself to how much can I give away. I realized that when I used my life to help others, my life felt richer. I know that I'm making a difference around the world and doing things that matter in eternity. When I die, I want there to be hundreds and thousands around the world that were impacted by the money God gave me.
The way of Jesus is totally unlike the way of this world. And Chris is such a great demonstration of what it looks like to follow Jesus in the way we see possessions and money. God's got a great plan for your life, and He wants to guide you along the way.